Y'all ready for some fashion? I'd guess so, because I get quite a few questions about what colors, armors, and skins I'm using. And I figured instead of having to answer every single one of you individually, I should just make a small series related to some of my setups. Then I could just give you guys a video link. Now, I'm going to be splitting my setups into 3 categories: originals, inspirationals, and cosplays. Original setups are ones that I kinda just tossed together with no direct inspiration behind them. These setups were basically whatever I thought looked nice. Inspired setups are setups that were made with a particular theme in mind, and these themes usually came from another game series, and I'm not directly referencing a specific character from a different series. For an example, if I made a Corpus-looking Vauban, it's not really trying to look like a specific Corpus character, it's just meant to fit into the Corpus as a whole. Cosplays are setups intended to look like a specific character from either another game or what have you. Doesn't really need any further explanation. Also, I want to say sorry because a lot of these setups are going to be using Tenogen. I'm sorry, I know that not everyone out there wants to drop money on Tenogen. It's just that Tenogen creations tend to be far better than what DE makes in-house, for some odd reason. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get started. Here's one that I get asked about a lot, because Loki is probably the closest thing that I have to a main in this game, and while I don't play him nearly as often as I used to, I'd be lying if I said he wasn't my favorite. And because I use him as my face in a lot of videos, I've gotten a few questions about the colors that I use on him. And honestly, it's not too special, I feel. Other than the skin occasionally changing, this is one of my earliest designs, and it's also one of the few designs that has survived up to this point. And because it's so old, I use rather generic colors on it, I think. The skin in the helm is a Tenogen skin called the Loki Incubus skin, created by Kaz and Volkovi. Primed bits are toggled on, and the animation set is Hydroid Noble. The primary color channel is the upper rightmost color in the smoke palette, however I do occasionally pick an off-white from the saturated palette, and I like to switch between them pretty often. The secondary color is the bottom leftmost color in the smoke palette, a pure black. Something that I very rarely use nowadays, but because of the texture work on the Incubus skin, it doesn't look like that you dumped an MS Paint bucket filled with the blackest of blacks onto it. The tertiary color is also the same black. Accents is a gold from the Organ palette, this one in particular. Folk tend to have their own favorite golds for metallics, and this one is my personal favorite. And lastly, the energy color comes from the Infested color palette, and it's this green right here. The armor set is almost entirely Pakal, and here are the colors for that. And here are the colors for the Syandana, which is the Prime XS Misa Prime Syandana. Those who have stuck with the channel for a while, or just so happen to watch this video right here, might remember my Genji Excalibur setup. Now, if you play Overwatch, you probably fall into one of 2 categories. You either love Genji, or you just love Genji. This weeb magnet has a bad reputation for attracting players who have no goddamn clue what they're doing, and he has since become a meme in the Overwatch community. And of course, a certain voice line didn't help.
I need healing.
Shut the fuck up, Genji! Anyways, I do like Genji's design, so I wanted to replicate it in Warframe. So here's my attempt to do so. The primary and secondary colors are both off-whites, kind of an eggshell white, and it's mainly picked to make it not as blinding. And I feel that it's a closer resemblance to Genji than a white that you would find in, say, the smoke palette. Both the tertiary colors and the accent colors are... this? I'm not sure what you would call this color. Salmon? Well, whatever, it's this color, alright? It's also worth mentioning that certain parts of the Kabuto skin cannot be changed, so I can't get this to be as accurate as I'd like, but with the limitations, this is the best that I got it down to. For energy, I'm actually using a different green than what I used on my Loki. Most people who know Genji's design will tell you that his green is more of a lime green, and so we're not using anything from the Infested palette. Instead, we're going to the Halloween palette and we're using this green right here. Now I have jumped between this green and stuff in the Infested palette, however the problem is that the stuff in the Infested palette don't have much of a lime tint to them, and so I'm sticking with this green for now. Lastly, I personally don't use any armor or sandanas on this setup, since Genji's design is overall pretty simplistic, with no jutting bits of armor or flowing scarves. And to complete the look, you gotta have an Akana on your back. Though this isn't a perfect replication of his sword sheath, because the official art references that I found make it out to be more of a beige color than a shade of gray. However, I personally feel that people would recognize the cosplay better with a gray sheath instead, so I opted to take some liberties here. And yeah, that's Genji. Optional build, remove all forms of survivability, and spam res pliz in the chat every time you go down for the true authentic experience. I love how Bloodborne looks. This game is the kind of game that would lure you into a bedroom, get you in bed, then slice your Achilles tendon and run away with your wallet. But man, the real unfortunate thing is that I have not played it. I simply have not got my hands on a PS4 despite my love for the Souls genre in general, but I can guarantee you that one day I will play this damn game. But for now, why not make something Bloodborne-like in Warframe, yeah? Enter Limbo. Limbo recently got a really sweet Tenogen helmet that looks like a Dorito, but more importantly, it is perfect for a Bloodborne-inspired setup. The skin is the default Limbo skin, and the helm is the Venari helmet, created by goddammit, and Sab531. The animation set is Harrow's Noble. The primary color is a gray-brownish base, chosen to make Limbo look a little less latexy than if I had gone with pure black. It also fits the style a bit better since Bloodborne character designs don't often use pure black outfits like what you would see on some Matrix reject. They're usually clad in dirty dark browns and grays, and this selection here fits perfectly in my opinion. Secondary once again dives into the Grineer palette, and it uses this color right here. It's once again a dirty light gray, and I opted for it since it matches very well with the primary. Had I used something from, say, the Smoke palette, it wouldn't really match all that well. Tertiary is where I make an exception and use a pitch black in the Smoke palette, mainly because this affects the transparency of the inner side of his coat as well as his hat. Having it pitch black makes it easier to see the energy flowing within both of those parts. However, using a wine red from the Valentine's palette also gets some pretty swanky results as well. Accents uses a faded gold, noticeably less saturated than the gold that I use on my Loki setup. This is to give the gold bits on his suit a faded look. You can of course go lighter, but I like it here as is personally. Energy uses the Halloween palette and utilizes the darkest red available. I have used brighter reds to better pop with the dirty, dull, and faded parts of the outfit. However, I do like a duller red to somewhat match with the concept. But it's honestly personal preference. I feel that a darker red looks more blood-like, but a brighter red certainly does pop more. Armor is a full set of Ghazal and adds some copper flair to the outfit as a whole. The primary color is this here copper shade. The secondary hops into the Dojo palette and uses this brown here to give this piece of fabric a worn and old look. The tertiary is this black here from the Grineer palette, though honestly it could be anything. The accents is the same faded gold used previously on the frame itself, and the energy is also the same. The Cyandana is the Tenogen Rapala Cyandana created by Master Noob. And here's the colors for the Cyandana. It's worth noting that for the secondary, I suggest using a brownish red like the one seen here. It helps give off a rustic, old, bloodstained look that's been on the cape for a long time. It meshes really well with how dirty the rest of the setup is. And that is all for now. Depending on how the series is received, I'm almost certainly going to do more of this. And again, I am sorry for all the Tenogen stuff. Like I said before, there's just a ton of great stuff made by the community, I feel, but I will try to cover at least a few setups that don't use any Tenogen in the future. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. Now go make your frame pure white and turn bloom up to 100. Because fuck fashion.